What if I told you there's a man in Scripture who never died? This isn't legend or metaphor. He literally vanished from the earth, and he was no more, for God took him, says Genesis. But what does that phrase really mean? Who was Enoch, the man who defied the logic of life and death? While many see it as a simple miracle, others say he was taken for a much greater purpose. Few biblical figures carry so much mystery in so few words. Enoch didn't die, he was taken. And the reason why might change everything you think you know about the spiritual world. Are you ready to uncover the secret time tried to hide? Imagine living in a time when the heavens themselves were at war. Angels descended to earth, revealed forbidden knowledge, and caused a deadly imbalance between the sacred and the profane. In this chaos, Enoch emerges as the only one able to truly understand what was happening. But how could an ordinary man become a messenger of the heavens? The answer lies in his connection with God, a walk so intimate that the Creator called him closer. And when God calls, it's never for a brief visit. It's for eternal purpose. Enoch's story isn't about casual faith. It's about a divine mission, one that involves secrets many tried to erase from history. In the canonical books, Enoch barely appears, but outside them, especially in the Book of Enoch, he becomes a colossal figure, not just a prophet, but an eyewitness to the machinery of the universe. He was taken to different heavens, saw halls of judgment, spoke with imprisoned angels, and recorded revelations that go far beyond traditional scripture. These accounts were banned, censored, silenced. But why? What was so dangerous about what he saw? These questions remain unanswered for many, but the truth is available for those who dare to seek it. And that's what we're about to do. Unearth the hidden knowledge. Few people know that the Book of Enoch was once considered sacred by many early Christian communities. It was read, revered, and quoted by major figures, until it mysteriously vanished. And when a text disappears without explanation, something is behind it. Enoch's writings describe the Watchers, angels who fell in love with human women, and the Nephilim, giants who walked the earth. These stories challenge what we've been taught from pulpits. They reveal a parallel narrative, perhaps a more complete one, about the origin of evil in the world. And for a long time, that version was considered too dangerous to teach. But why fear Enoch? Because his story isn't just a heavenly vision, it's a mirror. It shows us that the spiritual world isn't far away. It's active, pulsing, and in conflict. Enoch saw that. He understood that heaven and hell aren't just future places, but present realities that interfere with our world. He wasn't taken just as a reward, but as a responsibility. He would carry the testimony of mankind to the heavens, and bring warnings from the heavens to mankind. That bridge between realms is what makes Enoch so relevant. Not just a character, but a symbol of what it means to be chosen. There's a near-universal fascination with those who ascend: Moses, Elijah, Jesus. But Enoch came first. He was the prototype of the taken man. He didn't face death, didn't know decay, didn't return to dust. His physical absence became an eternal presence in the margins of Scripture. So why do so few speak of him? Why do so many avoid touching his path? Maybe because accepting Enoch forces us to challenge dogmas, to admit there's more between heaven and earth than theology can reach. He lingers on the edge of the text, waiting to be rediscovered, and you've just begun that journey. This story goes beyond religion. It speaks of destiny, of choices, of courage to face the unknown. Enoch didn't run from his calling. He surrendered to the invisible, and because of that he was rewarded with visions no one else received. He saw the judgment of angels. He saw God's throne. He saw the future of the earth. And he wrote, "For us, what you do with this now is up to you. But get ready. In the next few minutes, every revelation of Enoch will confront what you think is true. And in the end, you may realize that, like him, you too were called to see the unseen." If this story has already touched you in some way, just imagine what's still to come. Hit that subscribe button now so you don't miss a single revelation. And tell me in the comments, what would you do if God chose you to vanish from the world? Enoch was born at a time when the earth was still young, but evil had already taken root. Humans lived for centuries, yet corruption grew with every generation. The sons of men began to interact with beings not of this world, celestial visitors drawn to earthly desires. These beings, known as the Watchers, broke an eternal covenant They taught humanity secrets that were never meant to be known. They introduced alchemy, warfare, astrology, enchantments, and seduction. It was the beginning of what Enoch would later call corrupted wisdom, a time when heaven was no longer at peace and earth was paying the price. The Watchers weren't just observers. They crossed a forbidden line. They fell in love with human women, took them as wives, and fathered hybrid children. The Nephilim, giants, violent creatures, beings who devoured everything, animals, men, even each other. It was as if the earth itself was crying for help. And in the middle of this devastation, Enoch walked with God. A quiet man, but spiritually alert. He saw what no one else could, the imbalance between realms. That spiritual sensitivity is what made him chosen, not because of strength or glory, but because of purity of heart. God called, and he answered. Enoch's mission was clear, to record what men couldn't comprehend and what heaven could no longer ignore. He became the scribe of the invisible. Guided by angels, he was taken to heavenly places and shown how time, justice, and creation truly worked. He saw how every soul was weighed, how human actions influenced the universal balance. Each vision he received became words, symbols, teachings. But these truths weren't soft. They confronted. They shattered the narrow view of reality. Enoch didn't write to please. He wrote to warn. His pen was a sword. One of the most powerful moments in the book is when Enoch is brought to the imprisoned angels. He sees them chained in dark caverns, weeping and begging for mercy. Enoch listens to their pleas, and with a heavy heart, carries their petition to the divine throne. But God answers with silence. The fall of the Watchers was final. Their betrayal would find no redemption. And Enoch, with human hands, delivers the divine sentence. It's a moment of brutal spiritual tension. A man mediating the judgment of celestial beings. Who was Enoch to bear such a task? And yet, he fulfilled it without hesitation, because he knew this wasn't about him, it was about justice. From that moment on, Enoch lived between two worlds. He walked among men, but carried echoes of heaven within him. He became strange in the eyes of those around him. Many called him mad, a dreamer, a prophet. But he kept writing visions, revealing messages, warning of what was to come. He spoke of a flood before there was even rain, spoke of judgment before courts existed, spoke of redemption before anyone understood what grace meant. Enoch was a man who saw too far, and for that, he was rejected. It's always been that way with those who speak truths ahead of their time. What few realize is that Enoch wasn't just the forerunner of Noah. He was the archetype of the divine messenger. His story both inspires and challenges. His visions weren't driven by ego, but by compassion. His calling wasn't to build an empire, but to leave a legacy of wisdom that still speaks today, even after centuries of silence. His writings survived among Ethiopians, hidden monks, marginalized scholars, and now they're rising again. Because truth doesn't die. It only sleeps, waiting to be read by eyes that are ready. And here's the point. Enoch didn't see the invisible because he was special. He saw it because he was willing to empty himself of certainty, to surrender to mystery, to carry spiritual burdens. That's the great challenge his life brings us. Are we ready to see beyond the visible? Are we willing to carry truths the world prefers to bury? Enoch's call still echoes today, not as history, but as invitation, an invitation to open our eyes and truly see, even if what we see shakes us to the core. What would you do if you could see what no one else sees? Enoch saw, and he wrote it down. Now it's your turn to awaken. Subscribe to the channel to continue this journey, and drop a comment below. Do you believe we're living in days like his? The darkest moment in Enoch's journey comes when he receives a mission no man had ever dared to imagine, to deliver God's sentence to the very angels. Imagine the weight of such a task. These weren't just invisible spirits. They were glorious beings, once radiant, now corrupted, locked in stone abysses. These watchers begged for mercy. Speak to God for us, they pleaded. Enoch listened. He felt the sorrow of their fall, but he knew he wasn't there to console. He was there to judge, and the judgment had already been declared. Eternal, irreversible. It was the end of a celestial era. The scene described in the Book of Enoch is chilling. The mountains trembled. The caves holding the angels exhaled smoke and weeping. There was the stench of sulfur, the sound of chains, and a silence pierced by supernatural moans. Enoch approached with awe, not fear of the angels, but the burden of carrying God's verdict. He read the sentence with a firm voice. The watchers' faces twisted in anguish. There would be no return, no redemption, and in that instant, the man became more than a prophet. He became the very mouthpiece of judgment. The watchers' reaction is devastating. Some weep silently. Others scream, tear themselves apart, try to flee. One of them, Azazel, is marked as the greatest corrupter of mankind. He taught warfare, vanity, enchantments. His fall was deeper than the rest. God ordered him to be bound in darkness until the end of time. Enoch saw it all. His soul felt the weight of the abyss. But he didn't look away. He knew his mission was bigger than comfort. He was the link between a wounded heaven and a ruined earth. He wrote, he witnessed, he endured. But something in Enoch changed after that encounter. His eyes no longer saw as before. He began to dream of the end, dreams of rivers of blood, falling stars, celestial judgments. He wrote about a great cleansing, a flood, and he spoke of a righteous man to come, Noah, a direct descendant. It was as if Enoch saw hope within the collapse. The apocalypse approached, but redemption was still possible. That vision transformed him. He no longer belonged to the world, not to men, not to angels. He became something else, something between the divine and the human. If these writings had been fully accepted, they would have changed how we understand evil, justice, and humanity's destiny. The Book of Enoch claims corruption came from above, not just from mankind, and that changes everything. It lifts the weight of soul guilt from humanity's shoulders. It reveals a universe at war, a spiritual battle with ancient roots. Maybe that's why they tried to erase Enoch, because he revealed too much, because he exposed the invisible. And that kind of truth is terrifying. It's not taught in sermons, but maybe it should be. Enoch's words still echo with unsettling power. Woe to those who oppress the righteous, he wrote. Their days will be numbered, their names erased. There's fury and fire in those words, but also hope. He spoke of a new heaven, a new earth, perfect justice, days when the righteous will shine like the sun. He foresaw promises that would only be echoed centuries later by Isaiah, by Daniel, by Christ himself. But Enoch had already seen, already known, already felt. He was a man ahead of his time, and for that, he was taken out of time. And now that you've seen this side of the story, what will you do with it? We're only halfway through the journey. Enoch still has visions that touch the edges of the cosmos. He travels between dimensions, hears the sound of stars, learns the secrets of time, and discovers something that could forever change everything we believe about humanity's fate. But be warned, what comes next is not for everyone, only for those who dare to face the infinite. Enoch judged angels. Now the question is, who judges humanity? If this stirred something in you, don't stay silent. Subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think we're ready for that kind of judgment? After the judgment of the Watchers, Enoch is taken even deeper into the mysteries of the universe. He walks through corridors of light and darkness. Guided by angels, he reaches the edge of creation. There, he sees where time begins and where it ends. He sees the records of every soul stored in celestial books. He sees the destinies of the righteous and the wicked, determined by choices and consequences. Every detail of human existence is written down. Nothing is forgotten. Nothing is ignored. Time for Enoch is no longer a straight line, but a living organism, pulsing between justice and mercy. He observes how human days are numbered, how kings rise and fall, how empires bloom and wither. He sees that nothing is random, everything is connected. There is order behind chaos. Enoch realizes even suffering plays a role, that even evil is allowed for a time, only to reveal light at the appointed moment. This realization breaks him, but also enlightens him. He understands that judgment is not punishment, it's balance. It's not divine rage, it's absolute justice. This understanding draws him closer to God, but it also sets him apart from men. Who could carry such a weight and still live in peace? In another vision, Enoch is taken to a deep valley where the souls of the dead await judgment. He hears their voices. Some weep, others praise. He sees divisions in that place. One area for the righteous, another for the violent, another for the traitors. There is order, even in death, and in that moment, Enoch realizes, human life does not end with the final breath. It truly begins there. That revelation transforms him. He understands that every choice here echoes there. Every action has a ripple in the unseen, and that the true courtroom is not on earth, it's above, listening in silence. Enoch writes about all this with near scientific precision. He speaks of 7 heavens, of stars that obey commands, of winds that carry divine messages, of mountains where angels gather. He writes about portals between dimensions, of cosmic clocks that measure the end times. His account isn't poetic, it's almost technical, as if describing a celestial engineering. And because of this, many modern scholars tried to discredit him. But what can you do when ancient prophecies begin to align with discoveries in physics, astronomy, and cosmology? Coincidence or forgotten truth? He also writes of the Son of Man, a celestial figure who will come to judge with righteousness. This, perhaps, is his most striking revelation. Centuries before Christ was born, Enoch spoke of one who would descend from the heavens, with power, with glory, with a name hidden since creation. He describes this son as the one who will sit on the throne, separate the righteous from the wicked, and reign forever. How could he have known that? How could he see what even the great prophets hadn't yet seen? The answer is simple and unsettling. Enoch saw the end, and the end was already written. These revelations didn't turn Enoch into an idol. Quite the opposite. They made him an exile. Among men, he seemed insane. Among angels, he was revered. He lived between 2 worlds and belonged to neither. He is the archetype of the solitary sage, the one who carries a torch of knowledge that burns the hand. He had no followers, founded no religion, sought no applause. His mission was clear: to see, to record, to warn. And that kind of faithfulness came at a price. The more he knew, the less he belonged. And the more he belonged to the heavens, the less the world understood him. But there's something that makes it all even more unsettling. Enoch didn't meet the fate of other men. He didn't grow old and die. He wasn't buried. He simply disappeared. Tradition says God took him. But why? Why would God spare one man from death? The answer lies in the next visions. And they are not for just anyone. Because from here on, we enter forbidden ground, where judgment meets apocalypse, and the future of humanity is revealed without filters. You've just touched mysteries few have dared to seek. If you want to keep uncovering the invisible, subscribe now. Tell me in the comments, what shook you the most in Enoch's cosmic vision? After being guided through so many heavenly realms, Enoch reaches a place even angels dare not gaze upon directly. A flaming veil stretches before him, vibrating with sounds not of this world. It is the threshold of God's throne. There, time stops. Space bends. Enoch feels his body tremble. Every cell in him bows in reverence. He sees no face, only a presence, an energy that fills everything. And within that presence, he receives the final revelation. A truth that cannot be fully spoken, only lived. From that moment on, Enoch would never again be just a man. What he sees there is the record of Earth's 7 cycles, 7 eras, 7 falls, 7 rebirths. He sees civilizations not yet born, wars that have not yet happened, prophets who have yet to be sent. He sees the end and what comes after it. Enoch understands that everything we live is preparation, that behind the seeming chaos, there is a plan, and that, contrary to what many believe, judgment is not destruction, it is a restart. The vision tears through his mind, but also fills him with compassion. He understands why so many suffer, and he realizes that not all suffering is punishment. Some of it is warning. From that vision, Enoch changes. His words grow sharper. He writes with urgency, like someone trying to save lives before the storm. Woe to the proud kings, he warns. Woe to those who grow rich by the blood of others. His words are no longer just spiritual. They are social, ethical, political. Enoch understands that injustice isn't just a human problem. It reflects a cosmic corruption. Every tyranny, every famine, every war is a symptom of an invisible imbalance, and his mission is to expose it, with risk, with boldness, even if no one listens, even if no one understands. He speaks of a tower that will be built to touch the heavens, and that will fall. He speaks of nations that will try to become gods, and be crushed. He speaks of a beast that will rise in the end times, deceiving kings and crowds. He speaks of a seed that will grow in silence and change the fate of the earth. These images are intense, seemingly disconnected, but they all connect. Enoch is weaving, with his words, a map of the future. A future that is still unwritten. A future that can be changed, if the right eyes are opened in time. But the most terrifying thing isn't the visions, it's what they demand from those who see them. Enoch begins to realize that knowledge comes with a price. He no longer sleeps like before. His mind wanders through other dimensions. He speaks with beings that have no shape. He hears voices coming from the stars. He learns about forces that dwell in the heart of the earth. He is no longer fully here. It's as if part of his soul remained up there. He still walks among men, but no longer belongs to them. This process isolates him. People around him begin to fear him. He knows too much, they say. He speaks of things that should not be spoken. The religious accuse him of heresy. The powerful see him as a threat. But Enoch does not retreat. He keeps writing. He gives his books to his son, Methuselah. He teaches all he can, even knowing most will forget. He knows time will erase his tracks. But he also knows that one day, the right eyes will rediscover his words. And that day could be today. And here the question becomes inevitable. Why did God take him? Why remove him from the world in such a unique way? The answer lies in the final cycle, the final revelation, the one that hasn't yet been read or understood, the one that speaks of return, because Enoch did not die, and maybe he's still among us, somewhere, waiting for the right moment to reappear and speak what's still left unsaid. Enoch saw what no one wanted to see and spoke anyway. If this knowledge stirred something in you, show that you're listening too. Subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments, do you think someone today is being prepared like Enoch was? Enoch's final vision is so powerful it even challenges the angels. He sees the final judgment. Millions of thrones. Countless beings standing before a light beyond description. All the books are opened. Every soul is called by name. The righteous and the wicked. Kings and peasants. Angels and demons. There is no social status, only moral truth. Enoch sees the eternal scale in motion. He sees the final separation of light and darkness, and in silence, he weeps, not out of fear, but because he knows everything that lives must pass through that moment. No power escapes, no lie survives. Everyone's time will come. But there is one detail that changes everything. Enoch sees that judgment is preceded by a name glowing high above, a name hidden since the beginning of the world, the name of the Son of Man. He is not just a judge. He is the bridge, the Lamb and the Lion, the one foretold before all religions, even before creation itself. Enoch sees him coming in the clouds, surrounded by fire and glory, and he realizes everything pointed to him, all the visions, all the cycles, all the judgments, it all converged on this moment. And in that instant, Enoch understands his final role. He wasn't taken just to witness. He was taken to prepare. He was the trumpet before the war, the warning before the arrival, the first to see the end, and the first to announce a new beginning. That understanding consumes him, because now he carries the future of mankind in his eyes, and that gaze is heavy. Enoch knows humanity still has choices. That judgment will come, yes, but redemption is also within reach. He cries out for the righteous, pleads for the innocent. His words become desperate prayers, and heaven listens. Because even up there, Enoch's heart beats like ours. Then he asks, why me? And the answer doesn't come as a voice, but as understanding. Because he was faithful in little. Because he walked with God when no one else dared to. Because he didn't seek power or glory, but truth. Because he dared to see what no one else could. And that is the great key to his story. Enoch was chosen because he made himself available, because he bowed before he was lifted up, because he carried the burden before the honor. And that divine logic is scandalous, because heaven chooses the invisible, the pure, the broken, the ones the world ignores, but God sees. There is a line in the Book of Enoch that chills those who understand it. The words of the righteous will be heard in the last days. It's not just a promise. It's a warning. Everything that was said, written, forgotten, will return. Everything that was censored, burned, hidden, will be revealed. Enoch didn't write for his time. He wrote for the end, for the days of confusion, the days of deception, days like ours. He knew the world would one day search for answers that systems cannot give. And when that day came, his words would rise like fire, and those with ears would hear. And you, what will you do with all of this? Will you carry on as if you don't know? Treat it like legend when it might be prophecy? Will you ignore the call like so many did? Or will you hear the echo of Enoch's voice across the centuries, calling someone to awaken? This story isn't about the past. It's about now, about you. Because if Enoch was taken, who is being called today to take his place? Who is the new scribe? Who will dare to see the invisible and speak, even when no one wants to listen? The climax of Enoch's story isn't heaven. It's legacy. He didn't leave a body. He left a testimony. He left pages. He left warnings. He left the possibility of redemption. And now that you've read part of it, you can no longer pretend you don't know. You carry a piece of the same vision. And every vision demands a choice, to stay silent or to pass it on. But remember, those who walk with God do not disappear. They keep echoing generation after generation until the final book is opened. If this story is making you rethink everything, it's because it's doing exactly what it was meant to. Subscribe to keep receiving truths the world tried to bury. And tell me in the comments, would you carry Enoch's burden? Enoch's name almost vanished from history. His words were erased, his writings buried in deserts and caves. But even the longest silence cannot erase a living truth. Enoch is returning, not as a body, but as a symbol, an archetype, a warning. The man who walked with God and was taken before the flood. The first to ascend, so he could later announce. His words traveled through time, outlasted empires, defied forgetfulness, and now they knock at your door, because the end of Enoch is the beginning of something in you. What makes Enoch so powerful is not what he saw, but what he chose to do with what he saw. He could have stayed silent. He could have hidden. He could have built a personal empire, but he didn't. He wrote for others, for those who would come, for me, for you. And that is the essence of a true prophet. He doesn't keep the treasure for himself. He bleeds for the message. He suffers for love of those not yet born. And that kind of generosity is what makes Enoch eternal. Not because of glory, because of service, not because of miracles, but because of surrender. Today, the world is drowning in misinformation, confusion, and skepticism. Faith has become a fight. Truth has become opinion. The sacred has become a meme. And in the midst of all this, ancient voices are still trying to be heard. Enoch is one of them. He speaks of justice without spectacle, of revelation without vanity, of spirituality without manipulation. His words offer no magic formulas. They offer courage. Courage to face the unseen, to confront evil, to walk with God when everyone else walks the other way. And that kind of courage is rare today. If you've made it this far, it wasn't by accident. Maybe, like Enoch, you felt there's something beyond what you can see, something calling, a discomfort, a question without an answer, a longing to understand what no one explains. That's not madness. That's spiritual sensitivity. And maybe, like him, you are being set apart, not to escape the world, but to see the world differently, to write, to warn, to transform, because there is still time, but that time is running out. The greatest mystery of Enoch may not be his ascent, but his return. Some traditions say he will appear again in the last days. Others believe he never truly left, that he still walks between worlds, watching, recording, waiting, not to judge, but to witness. Whether that is literal or symbolic doesn't matter. What matters is what you will do with this legacy. Will you let this story be just another video? Or will you let it open a portal inside you? A portal to something the modern world has forgotten? Holy fear. There is a generation that will be like Enoch, who will walk with God even in chaos, who will see the invisible, who will refuse to conform to lies, who will write, speak, and create, not to promote themselves, but to awaken others. And maybe, just maybe, you are part of that. Maybe you've been reached now because your spirit has been restless for a long time. That restlessness is the beginning of revelation. And revelation, once accepted, becomes mission. And mission demands a response. To stay silent now would be betrayal of what has already been awakened in you. Enoch did not die, because some missions cannot be buried. They only transfer, from generation to generation. They look for new eyes, new voices, new hearts. And maybe, by the end of this video, you'll realize that this mission has just found you. The question is, will you walk with God, even if it costs you everything? Because in the end, there are only two paths: to disappear from the world, or disappear from your purpose. And Enoch chose the first.